What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about XCN today. We are going to look at the charts, but before we do, I just want to say the purpose of this video is to discuss where I think the price is going to be in the short term, where I think it's going to be in the long term. We are going to go over cycle ending price predictions, and then I want to weigh in on this whole Binance listing news that may or may not be true, right? Nothing's conclusive yet, at least to my knowledge, nothing's conclusive, but there is a pretty strong rumor going out there, and there's reasons for it. There is conclusive reasons for it. I think we're on the list. We're like on that on-deck list to be listed, but it doesn't mean that we're actually guaranteed to be listed. I do want to say, you guys, 2 weeks ago when this pump started, from day one, I literally said it, that this looked like exchange buying to me. It would not be a surprise to me at all if Binance listed. I wouldn't be shocked at all. And you can literally check my videos for like the first 5 days of this pump, and even probably after that. I've mentioned it. I think this is Binance buying this coin. I think that's exactly what this is. And that's beautiful. That's wonderful, you guys, because an exchange listing, an exchange buying your token, it not only pumps the hell out of your coin, but it gives you a very specific date, a specific like pinpointed moment where it would make the most sense to sell. I just made a video talking about this, and I want to kind of give you the short and sweet of that video. We'll get into the charts here too while we're doing that, okay? Is that essentially an exchange is one of the biggest entities in crypto. When you have them buying your product, it's going to launch this thing to the moon. By the time they list it, they're probably done buying the product. They're not going to list it if they need more. So by the time they list it, they're done buying it. So now you don't have exchange buying pressure anymore. So that's not going to send the price up. Any kind of sending the price up would have to come from retail, if anything. But there's no exchange buying pressure anymore. In fact, it's gone away. Now they're selling their coin to you, the clients, the retail people. So you've replaced your exchange buying pressure with exchange selling pressure on a point of listing. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. I hope that's concise enough. Hit the like button, subscribe if it is. But I want to get into the TA. I want to get into the TA and what all that means. What I expect is if we do have a Binance listing, we're not done yet. We're not done with this pump yet. But that listing date, it might be to the day, it might be a week before, it might be a week or two after, but around the time of the listing, we will be at our high. And oftentimes, whenever we do get Binance listings or any kind of big exchange listing, they will give you a date a little bit ahead of time. They tell you they're listing after the pump, right? And this is how wealthy entities do it. They don't tell you they're going to buy a coin down here. After they've bought the coin, that's when they tell you that they're thinking about buying the coin, right? It's like the United States. Real quick, I'm on a whole nother tangent here, but I want to piece some thoughts for you guys together. The United States signing an elective or an executive order to have a crypto reserve. You guys understand the United States is the biggest entity of holding Bitcoin right now, right? They've got the most crypto in value already in the world. And now they announced they're going to start stockpiling it. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how things work, especially with big money. They announce it after it's been going on for a while. So yes, the listing, while it is bullish and while that will promote growth until the listing itself, most of the buying has probably already happened. And we can observe that here just looking at the price, right? The price action is clearly very robust at first, dwindling off. I'm sure we will get one more leg up, and that will probably be it. A lot of you are wondering, a lot of people in the XCN community, I don't know what just happened. Hold on, y'all. A lot of you guys are wondering when a good time to sell is, and I'm not here to tell you when a good time to sell is. I'm not here to tell you when a good time to buy is. I can identify price ranges and tell you what my thoughts are on them and what I'm going to do, but that's a very personal decision and something that should be made without emotion, or as least emotion as possible. If you're one of the people, I'm talking to you right now, if you're so emotional, if you're so ecstatic, you just came into a lot of money in a very short amount of time and you don't want to mess it up, and that gives you anxiety, you want to do this right, calm down. Just calm down. Take a breath. Take a breath. Try to not make a frantic move. Try not to be super smart. Just calm down. Let it come to you. You'll know what to do with your money, all right? You're not going to know what to do with it if you're frantic and just totally ecstatic. Calm down, okay? It's cool. It's fun making a lot of money, but you have to be able to handle it. You want to be wealthy. You want to make more money. You want this stuff to happen to you regularly. Act like you've been here before, right? Don't act like it's your first time or the only time that it'll ever happen in your life. act like the thing that you're trying to be, which is, you know, wealthy. If you're wanting to make money in this game, that's just my assumption. And if you're doing that, wealthy people, at least whenever they're making moves with their money, whenever they're trying to make serious moves with their money, they don't do it frantically. I mean, at least if they're going to make a smart decision, they don't do it frantically. You have to do things patiently, and you have to be calm. So try to find your center. If you're freaking out about this, that's cool, but just try to calm down, because you're not going to make the best decisions for yourself whenever you're frantic. But again, all that really relates to me. I'm just trying to say, when it comes to buying or selling, nobody has the answer for you other than you. You got to know that. But on the note of buying and selling, where to sell, where to buy, I do want to go over some targets right now of where I think the price is going to go, both in the short term to the downside, and then to the even a little bit longer term, but still pretty short term, to the upside here. If we're looking at the 4-hour time frame, I fully suspect that this right here is bearish divergence. If we're looking at the daily time frame, I don't believe that's bearish divergence, and in fact, I think this move will know it's over when this RSI is, mark my words, once it's above this reading here, it's either to a T the exact same, or it's slightly above it. That's when we're going to top off. So I assume it's going to be soon. It's going to be over the coming days that we likely do top off for XCN, but I don't think that it's here. That's my personal assumption. Okay, if I'm wrong on that, if we don't on a daily basis see the RSI getting a higher high, then what we'll see is this lower high here will consolidate again, come up, probably form another lower high, and then on that point, that's when we would sell off. So it's going to be one of two, right? Either it would look something like this, is what I would think, or we would get that slightly higher high, which right now that's kind of my notion, which is crazy, because that puts us above a 97 on the RSI. That's incredible. Okay, but on a 4-hour basis, we definitely do have bearish divergence. This 100% is bearish divergence. And where it started, high to high here, lower high, high to high here, higher high, it started all the way back here at 2.9 cents. With bearish divergence, you oftentimes see the move go back to where the divergence formed, and not just that, but through the divergence. You oftentimes go through it. So my expectation, we're at 3.5 cents now. I expect the price for XCN to go down to 2.9 cents. And in the Discord, shout out to all the people in the Discord. If anybody made a play on this, you know, not financial advice, none of it ever is. I didn't sell any coins, but I did say while we were up, I think we were at 4.3 cents whenever I said this in the Discord earlier, that I was expecting, maybe we were a little bit lower. I forget where it was. It was around 4 cents, if not just a little bit above it. I thought I was calling for 3 cents, or maybe I said 3. I think I said 3 cents is where I thought we were going to go. And while this bounce happened, I did think that was the low. But after looking at this more, I really do believe we're going to go a little bit lower. If this was a bounce, if that was the real deal, we would have gone up already. Okay, if we look at XCN on something with volume, we look at Coinbase here, you can see that's some decent volume with some decent candles coming down. So that probably is sell pressure. We absolutely do have bearish divergence. It would make sense that we interact with this area. Now that we've made sense out of that, let's take a high to low and just make sense out of it on the fibs. Okay, you hit the 2618 extension. Likely, if you were to find support somewhere, it would either be at the 1886 or the 1618. Why is it that way? I don't know, man. That's just what I've noticed in my time, in my 8 years doing technical analysis. You go from the 2618 down, you likely don't break below the 1618. Likely you don't. Can you? Sure, you can, but likely you don't go below there. And oftentimes you don't find support at the 200. I mean, you did there, but it's not. That's not where you bounce from. Oftentimes you find support at the 886, and that's where you bounce from, which just happens to be right below where this bearish divergence started. Does that make sense? Beyond all the other things, you can see that you've moved up here while volumes died off. And that's not even that big of a deal, because this volume actually was basically the same amount of volume that matches our market cap. It's actually very phenomenal volume. It looks like lesser volume than it is, but it's actually still very phenomenal volume. I don't think that in itself means we have to go down. But oftentimes, when you do continue to run with volume decreasing, that does signal exhaustion, and you can see the exhaustion. Somebody asked this earlier. I hope you're watching this video, whoever you are. I forgot the name. I'd give you a shout out right now if I remembered, but you're asking what exhaustion is. I was mentioning in the comment, you can see it, right? You can see it in the volume first and foremost. You can actually see it kind of in this, but you can see it in the price. You don't need any of that to see exhaustion, right? It's very, very obvious, right? Look at this move. We're going to draw it. Here's the first part of the move. Here's the second part of the move. Here's the third part of the move. Can you see it's getting exhausted? Very parabolic, straight up, very big, massive. Not as big, but still very straight up. So it's weaker move, but still strong. Pretty big, the same size, but it's at a lesser slope. You're showing exhaustion. And whenever you show exhaustion, that's often when you start to switch your trend. You go from an uptrend to a downtrend. I don't think this in itself means that we're going to go down now. We're not going to see prices higher than this. We very well could top off here, and we'll go over that as well right before we get into our end of cycle stuff, and then we end the video. But I personally don't think that we're going to, I don't think that we stop here. I do think that we have one more run to go, and I actually want to touch base on that real quick. If we look at this on a daily time frame, if anybody knows anything about Elliott wave theory, there's a thing called impulse waves. Right? If you look up an impulse wave, they tend to be 5-wave patterns, if I remember correctly. I'm not the best with Elliott wave, but I'm somewhat literate, I suppose. And a 5-wave count would be like this. You have one wave moving up. Your second wave is consolidation. So that's 1, 2, 3. We could be starting our fourth wave now, which is a consolidation phase. It'd be pretty similar. Your fourth wave is normally your smallest wave. So this would have been our wave 2, this consolidation phase. If this is wave 4, expect it to be a smaller consolidation phase than this. Wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and then wave 5. And at wave 5, that's oftentimes where things top off. And here's the deal. Wave 1 is not normally the biggest wave. Normally it's wave 3, and then wave 5, and then it goes to wave 1. But in situations like this, I could see it being the biggest wave. It's very possible, okay? And at any rate, oftentimes when wave 1 is the biggest wave, I've found that wave 5 can be smaller. And I think the reason for that is, you just basically reverse your move dynamics. You start with the bang instead of finishing with the bang. I don't know the exact reasons for that, but I've noticed it myself. Oftentimes, if your wave 1 is the biggest, your wave 5, it tends to be not the smallest wave, but the smallest impulse wave up. But if you know anything about Elliott wave theory, this would theoretically imply that this could be our consolidation phase, our wave 4, and then we're getting ready for our wave 5. If it is wave 4, oftentimes, not guaranteed, but oftentimes it is smaller than wave 2, which would mean that if we measured this through a time perspective, this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then on the 6th day we moved up. If this was our first day consolidating, that would imply that in 5 days or less, we will likely move up again. Okay, so by the end of this week, we will likely see this fifth wave at the beginning start. I hope that all makes sense. If you're unfamiliar with Elliott wave theory, you can actually learn a lot. I like Elliott wave forecasts. They used to not charge for things. I don't know if I just keep throwing people their way, so now they charge people because they've gotten more traffic or what. But there's a lot of stuff they offer for free, and then there's stuff that you can pay for too. But it's like a glossary. You want to learn about Elliott wave theory, first learn about Fibonacci retracements and stuff. You need that. That's fundamental to this. But yeah, there's a lot in this. You can learn a whole lot of stuff. Anyways, getting back to the task at hand here. Assuming there is a fifth wave, let's make sense out of that now. Okay, so if we're at this high to low here, we're at our 2618. We topped off there. Okay, here the 2272 would likely be where we find support, and that's at 2.9 cents right there. Okay, and then again off of this other consolidation phase right here from a high to a low, our 2618 was hit there, and we're already below our 2272. So the next place we find support at would be the 1886, which lines up very well with this 2272 here. And if we're just looking at this fib for what it is, it would make the most sense to find support again just below 3 cents there at that level at 2.9 cents. Okay. If we are to continue higher, and in very bullish environments, very bullish moves, sometimes you do exceed your 2618 and you top off at your 3113 to 2886. But I don't personally anticipate that we would see a higher move than this. Okay, personally, I don't expect that we would see a move that takes us above 10 cents, but I do at least expect that we'd get above 7.2 cents. So we're at 3.3 cents now, likely going to go below 3 cents. And by the end of this week, I suspect we will be commencing a move that will take us no less than 7.2 cents and no greater than 10 cents. Okay, and that's just by this one metric. Let's try to make sense out of it on another metric. And for this, I actually am going to use the all-time history chart. I've come to accept that I think the all-time history chart is something that we should consider to use because the all-time high, regardless of if Coinbase had it listed or not, what exchange had it listed, it's a significant metric, right? We've torn through, we've disrespected this golden ratio. We haven't really shown much respect on this fib, but we might show respect on the 886, and that's kind of what I'm holding out for, okay? Whenever it comes to doing this, you don't normally tear through your golden ratio. You don't normally tear through your 786, but if you do, you almost always find resistance right there at your 886. And your 886, based on your all-time high to all-time low extension, is right there just below 10 cents. And I want you guys to think about this, okay? So we've done it twice now, both through an extended measure through the Coinbase chart from this high to low. It makes sense that we'd go to 10 cents or less, right? 7.2 to 10 cents. And then from this measure, it would make sense that we go just below 10 cents, okay? It would make a whole lot of sense. Now think about the psychological resistance that 10 cents provides. That's a nice round number. That's a nice, oftentimes, you know, I mean, we're finding resistance at 100K for Bitcoin right now. You know, you find resistance at your tens, at your hundreds, at your thousands, stuff like that. It's just a common thing to do. And then beyond all that right here, the 886 right there, okay? If you look at this whole chart's existence, this was the only point before all this that you had any kind of stoppage, any kind of significance, support and resistance. Because after this, you just shit. You just literally dropped nonstop. You had a momentary stop here, which is why we stopped here momentarily, but basically you just moved through, which is essentially why, and going forward, any person looking to invest in a crypto, if you're looking at a chart and it looks like this, and then you get a nice kind of double bottom pattern like this, you get that W shape, even if it goes lower, even a lower low, like if it has that W shape to it, this is a really good setup. And you will almost always see reactions, maybe not exactly this robust, but still over time, something that would be this robust. Maybe not as robust in a short amount of time, but oftentimes you see this, you will give it all back. That's not me saying that every single chart that's going down gives it all back. No, you have to have the right kind of bottoming action going on. And the reason why you get such magnificent moves, again, I'm touching on this point, is you don't have any resistance going on the way up. But you look at this line at 10 cents where the 886 is, where an area that we found resistance or a place to make sense for this next stop to go. It's actually right at the top, kind of at these areas where you found resistance before you went down, kind of the only area you found significance on. So if we just look at this from a price perspective, from a low point here, even to a high point here, going from, we could make sense out of this at 7.1, which 7.2 was the minimum we had, and then 10.5, going to that same range that we had, just looking at the price, not using anything else. But if we use the fibs, we use the extensions and the retracements, we all get the same kind of local area. And then also, if we apply Elliott wave theory, it would make the utmost sense that we're consolidating right now for the next, including today, it would be the next 4 days or less. By the end of this week, we would start to move up again, and likely we will see targets anywhere from 7.2 to 10.5 cents. Now here comes the question I can hear all of you asking, okay? And we're going to get to the cycle ending stuff in a second, and then we'll end the video. But is this a good place to sell? I'm going to sell. I'm going to take some profits. I am going to layer my XCN sell orders throughout this range. I will have some at the very top. I'll have some right below 10 cents. I'll have some right above 10 cents. I'll have some just above 8 cents. I'll have it layered throughout all of this, and I'm going to get filled. I don't care if I sell the tip top, right? Imagine this first and foremost. Let's go back here. Let's go all the way back in time, just for perspective when it comes to selling, okay? Imagine you didn't get to sell this, but you sold somewhere in this range, and then the price went all the way down here. Did you sell at a good price? I think you sold at a good price. So me personally, my kind of style, I don't care about catching the absolute high. I just care about getting in and getting out and making money. So that's what I do, right? And I'm planning on getting out throughout this range. I'm not going to tell you guys where I'm getting out. I'm telling you the general area. I'm not going to tell you how much I'm selling, but I will tell you this. I'm not selling all of it. I will sell at least 20% of my XCN portfolio. I will sell no more than 80% of it. So something in between that area. I don't want to give a specific amount because people will ask, how much should I sell? What should I do? You could sell 100%. You could sell 0%. That's a personal question. You need to address that for yourself. And this is where that franticness comes from. This is where that anxiety comes from. You need to chill. Just think, what do you want to do? You've got all this money. You just made all this money. You're a big boy. You're a big girl. Start acting like it, because you just made some big girl money, some big boy money. So start acting like it. What are you going to do? Calm down. Breathe. What are you going to do? Think about it. Stop looking to other people to figure it out. You can figure it out too. I'm giving you guys my perspective as far as where it's going to go, and I hope it makes sense. I hope that at least can help, right? Not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but I hope that at least helps. But as far as what to do with it, that's up to you. And if you're always asking other people what to do with it, you're never going to come into money on your own, because money is a fickle thing, and it will only come to those who can control it, who can take charge of it. And you got to take charge of it. You want to be wealthy, you want to take charge of your own financial destiny, start doing it. Make your own decisions. Okay? You want to sell here, put it back into XCN at a lower price? Okay. If you were doing that, here's my perspective. Okay, I can give you my perspective. My perspective is, if you wanted to sell this price and you wanted to layer back into XCN, I would DCA into it, right? When it drops 20%, I might put 20% back into it. When it drops 40%, I might put another 20% back into it. If it drops more than that, I might put more than that into it, right? And then if it drops something greater than 60%, I'll just unload everything and put it in there at whatever the relative low is. If it only drops 40% and it starts to come back up and it looks like it's going to recover, I can put all of it in there still at lower prices, hopefully below 20 to 40% range. I hope that gives you some perspective to DCA in, right? I'm not DCAing out. I'm not going to day by day DCA out. I'm layering my orders, hopefully all in the same day, same kind of time frame they'll get hit, or maybe it's a multi-day period. I don't care. But the point is to not DCA out, is to layer out and then DCA back in. If that's what you want to do, you want to get back into XCN and add more for the next ride up, because that will happen inevitably. But just make sure you hold true to your DCA targets, okay? Not financial advice, just my perspective on what I would do. Or sell here and then allocate to every coin that looks just like XCN did right before it pumped. So, sell it and then diversify. Take 10% and put it into 10 different coins, or 50% and put it into 2 coins, whatever it is you want to do. What coins? I don't know. It's up to you. I know a lot of people are talking about Swift coin, and some people are even talking about XCN funds going into Swift coin. I don't know if that's true. Maybe it is. I'm sure people flock from the biggest pumping thing to the next biggest pumping thing, right? There are people in here. People talk about the XCN community. What community, guys? There was no XCN community back here. You guys are the pump community. You're here for the pump. So of course, if there's another pump going on and this thing's not doing anything, you might see some of the community leave. You might see some interest leave, but this thing will continue to rise. And I have very, very strong confidence that it's going to go to at least 7.2 to 10 cents, maybe even a little bit above 10 cents. And I'm going to sell throughout that whole range. And again, I'm not letting go all of it, but I am going to sell a sizable portion. 20% to 80%, somewhere in that range. That's all I'm saying, right? It's up to you to decide what the appropriate amount is for you, right? And what to do with that money. From a high to a low, here's where we get to the all-time predictions, that we're going to end the video, okay? Hit the like button, you guys. Subscribe if you haven't. The fact that we've done this, okay, the fact that we've torn right through the golden ratio, anytime we have a fib retracement, high to low, and you tear through the golden ratio on your first attempt like butter, like it's nothing, statistically, your odds of hitting the first area, the primary expected zone, the 1272 to the 1618, they go up. You're like 80% or more likely to see these levels, okay? That's what that means to me. And also, just not just to me, to other people too, who know about the golden ratio and the relationship to the extensions. If you move up from here, that'd be 82.5 cents at the minimum, right? So essentially what I'm getting at is 82.5 cents is the minimum given target for this cycle. Now, just because 561 is on the table, 563 is on the table, doesn't mean that that's a target for the end of the cycle. It could, but we're going to have to dissect that a little bit, okay? The next one is the 1414 at $1.81. It's very common when interacting with the 1272. You can go a little bit above it, but oftentimes you find pretty precise resistance, and even sometimes you find resistance just below it. Sometimes that happens. With the 1414, oftentimes you don't find you either find resistance right at it, or most of the time you actually do go a little bit through it, and even sometimes a little bit more than a little bit. You can reach for that 1618 without getting there. So I just want to offer, I think that prices above $1.81 are possible, but prices below $5 likely. And here's where we're going to get into the math of it. Okay, we're going to look at XCN's market cap, which has just exploded, man. It's absolutely ridiculous. Is it number 87 right now? Has something else dropped? Have some other coins dropped? Because it was at higher prices than this, and it was at like 101 earlier. It's at 87, whatever. Maybe CoinMarketCap is a different thing than CoinGecko. Let's just say you're at $1 billion right now. XCN hasn't even had one full bull cycle, right? It topped off in May of 2022. It came about in March 2022. It came out in the bear cycle. It hasn't even had one bull cycle. The odds, the average crypto does not see a $100 billion or higher market cap in their first bull cycle. XRP did. Ethereum did, but that's it, right? It doesn't happen. It can happen. I'm not saying it's impossible, but likely it doesn't happen. Even though this is a miraculous pump that XCN's doing, likely we don't see $100 billion by the end of this cycle. So you're at $1 billion now. That means from this price at about 34.5 cents, anything basically around here, let's try to get that 100x right on there. Basically right there at $3, let's say $3.40. From 340 and up, it's essentially statistically not impossible, but very unlikely. Like 90% chance that that's not going to happen, plus 90% chance that won't happen. So likely it's something below this. I think likely it's something above $1.81, but likely something below $3.40. So what would make the most sense out of that? I don't know. If we look at the Coinbase chart, we go to Coinbase USD here, and we go from this all-time high to the all-time low there. The 1/618 golden ratio is right at 242, and that's between $1.84 and $3.40. That could be where we go. That's also, I've done the math, that's about an $80 billion market cap. And when there's new coins being released throughout this cycle, maybe that gets closer to a 90 billion or 100 billion, right? Hitting that upper limits of your possibilities. It just makes sense that we might stop there. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. I believe XCN will be worth more than $1, even probably more than $2 by the end of this cycle. It's not going to be a nonstop moon mission the whole time, and I anticipate that we do find some turbulence over the coming days. Every time I say that, we pump, so just be careful. Likely this next pump, wherever it takes us, 7 cents, 10 cents, wherever it takes us, that will likely be our more momentary high, where it takes anywhere from several weeks to even maybe a few months to consolidate, figure ourselves out, and then move higher, right? So that's just that's what we have to prepare for. If there is a Binance listing, be prepared for that Binance listing to be a rather bearish event on the day of listing. I got nothing else for you guys. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.